Okay, and we're live on Leash Agent. So today we've got a great guest for you. It's Kenny Klaus you're in Arizona. So Kenny, want to take a quick second and tell a bit about it yourself and why you're here?
Yeah, hey, no, I appreciate the opportunity. Got referred over by Beth Sandberg, and I'd flown up to Philadelphia and done a class and met her there, and she referred me over. So, Beth, I appreciate that. Just a chance today to talk a little bit about niches, obviously, and I started farming in real estate in 2001, started my career in 99, but started just consistently since 2001, and I'll say marketing to a farm, meaning sending a monthly newsletter, items of value, things like that. And started with about 1,700 homes, one subdivision, and then about 2 years later we grew that to about 5,000 homes. About 2 more years after that went to 8,000, and now we're up to about 21,000 in one farm. And then this year we've expanded and started 2 new farms geographically. And we do it based on zip codes out here in Arizona.
Okay.
The zip codes are tight enough. So.
Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to delve into, but before we get started, can you tell us a bit about yourself before the real estate? Were you doing anything outside of real estate before that?
Yeah, actually I was the FedEx guy. So you see those guys out running around delivering packages. I did that for 13 years. And actually that's really how I kind of grew into the farming model, was just because once you got a route with FedEx, you'd run your route and get to know it real, and you had to run around and cover everybody else's route and realized, you didn't know where to park, where to deliver to, what time to pick up, and then when you got your own route, you got to build relationships and know people and know your businesses, know your houses, and you became a lot more efficient and a lot more knowledgeable, and you felt like you were serving your clients better. So that model kind of, as I moved into the idea of getting a real estate license and getting into that, it's kind of the vision I had, as I grew into the real estate industry.
Okay. So what got you actually into the real estate business then?
Oh, just one of my FedEx managers showed me a commission check he had gotten one time. He was doing it part-time, and it was a pretty good number back then, and I went, wow. And I said, sky's the limit opportunity, and I'd like to go for that. And he said, I think you'd be really good at it. You're a good people guy, and you always excel here, and I think you should do it. So I started going to classes, and then did both for 4 years actually. I went from full-time to part-time to just unloading containers in the morning for FedEx, but keeping those full benefits for quite a while, and so that was a big deal as I transitioned to be able to go full-time into real estate.
Okay. So what was that look like for you to make that jump into that farming? Because sometimes that scares a heck of a lot of people. You said you were about 2 years into the business. What got you to do that? Why that jump, and what did that look like for you when you got started?
Well, we had moved into a new subdivision, or we were moving into a new subdivision, and where the schools were right there. It was a little bit further out, bigger house, newer, and I'm like, you know what? They're still selling new. Nobody is doing real estate out here yet because a little bit further out feeds. And so I started visiting the builders while our house was being built and getting copies of all the floor plans, getting to know the salespeople. And, of course, we were going to live there, raise our family, and we're actually still in the same house since 2001, and had the kids have graduated school, and just thought, you know what, geographically, if I can stay within about a 5-mile radius and do the majority of my business, seems to make a lot more sense for me, for my clients, for my time. And I thought, man, if I could just do this for 10 years, I could probably have a pretty big business. And so I set a 12-month budget and said, I'm not going to touch this money. It's all going to go into a monthly budget to do the newsletter, whether I get a listing or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I did get a listing my very first month. Then I went 7 months without a listing, and I got 3 appointments in my 7th month, executed all 3. Yeah, I just didn't track, after that how many listings I was getting per month.
Okay.
But again, it's been consistent since then.
Okay. So for you obviously picked it because you were living in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Now you teach people how to do farming. Do you get people to pick a farm for turnover rates because they live in the area? Like what would you say makes a good farming area then?
Well, it's interesting because of course, we teach turnover rates, but back when I picked my farm, it wouldn't have made sense for turnover rates because it was, still new construction. I picked it because nobody else was out there yet, and I still had an income, with FedEx.
Right.
But, we teach, obviously turnover rates, budget is number one, too. I mean, you got to make sure you have money to invest into it. Is there a dominant agent? Is there somebody that has 15, 20, 25% share of that market? It's not that you can't go into that market later, but maybe there's an area close to it you could take. And is it somewhere where you want to be doing business in 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road? Because, again, what happens with farming, for me at least, it's went from having a real estate job to actually owning a real estate business in the community now.
Mm-hmm.
So our brand is bigger than anything else. And whether I'm in the office or not, we're still doing business, every day because we're just now the real estate company for the area. And we have a decent market share. There's still more to be had, but it's really made a predictable business year over year, where we've been averaging, 250 sides up until like 2010, and now we're averaging, about 375 sides a year.
Wow.
Consistently.
So how much of that is coming from the farms then?
It's interesting because I get that question, and I would tell you that a high percentage of it, but it's hard to track because we get a lot of business outside of our farm, but a lot of it originated in the farm,
right.
or someone in the farm referred those people to us. A lot of internet leads come in from listings in the farm, and they buy in a different area.
Right.
But I would say it's definitely the number one source and the highest return. When you talk about, what's the best type of lead out there, obviously, past client, referral client, we all know that. And then for me, the next is really a farm client because they kind of already know you. It's kind of a soft intro because they've been seeing your marketing versus, an internet lead or a sign call or things like that.
Okay. So I've got a ton of questions for you. So one of them would be, what would you say is the average time frame that people should expect to see a deal? Because that's something that agents get hung up on, and they kind of want that instant results. Do you have an average time that people should be expecting results?
Well, I can tell you we just started a new farm. We just hit our 7th month, and we've had one buyer, one short sale, and we just got 2 listings this month off of it. The other farm we're 3 months into. We've had goes to refi. The other one has 2 houses to sell, and they're just waiting for their relocation letter. So that farm, but again, if I was teaching it, I'd err on the long side and say, it could be 6 months before, you get your first actual listing converted. But, you need to budget for at least 12 months because it takes time for people to, to see the brand, trust the brand, and consistency builds trust. A lot of people think of it as boring, consistency, but what it does is it builds trust in their eyes over time.
So at what point do you usually see agents giving up? Because a lot of agents say they're going to try farming and they don't really commit to it. So do you see that point where people...
Realistically, within by the 3rd mailing, they're done.
Is it because they're not getting the results or because they're not getting what they're hoping? Yeah.
And a lot of it, keep in mind, too, a lot of it, they wouldn't even read their own crap they put out. I mean, they put out crap and expect a result. I mean, we send these, people send these canned newsletters and then go, I don't know why anybody doesn't even open them. They just do crap. You wouldn't read them, and they know they're canned. With our newsletter, we have a different approach than other people. We do more of a community-based newsletter, so I kind of fly under the radar, and we get into the kitchen table because it's about the community. It's about the sports teams. It's about real estate. It's about community events. It's about, we do a positive neighbor story. We do interviews of businesses. It's a lot more work, but the return is there because it's authentic. People, they want to read it because it's about their community.
Right.
I was just in Austin last week and on stage with another guy, and he's crushing it up in another area, and he does a big 8.5 by 11 type postcard, all real estate, and then he prospects over the top of it and does extremely well, and that works too. So, but it's really making sure that it's value, it's consistent, it's full color, so it's quality, and it's consistent. So But again, sometimes we just send out, garbage and then, black and white or colored paper, and then wonder why, they don't want to pay us 3% or 6% to list a property. So.
So when you were getting started, you mentioned your size. How you said it was about 1,800?
1,700, and it was just basically one subdivision.
Okay. So what was your budget like for that first year?
Well, back then we didn't have, every door direct like we do now, so postage was a little bit higher, and then color printing, because you're not doing bulk, was a little bit higher. So if I remember correctly, I want to say I was about, probably close to 60 cents, maybe 75 cents a piece. So it was, close to that $1,000-1,200 a month budget type thing.
Okay. So for you, when did you start really getting a hold of the area as owning it? Because again, you can get started, you can be farming for a year and get a few deals, but at what point did you actually lock it down and kind of make it your own farm?
By my second year, because I was doing, community-based open houses. We have a golf course in the center, so I was setting up in the golf course parking lot, saying available list of homes for sale, sponsoring, the teams, just very involved in everything that was going on. I had a golf cart at the time that had, our logos on it. But I would say by year two, because what I did is I had and what I teach in my class is really a well-rounded approach, where it's not just getting to know all the houses, but I would literally walk the shopping centers, get to know the business owners. Mm-hmm. I started a neighborhood network group, so I walked into their business adding value, not trying to just get real estate business, and I think that give to receive mentality. So I'd say, hey, we do a little neighborhood network meeting at this little restaurant, third Tuesday of every month at 7:30 in the morning. Love to have you come out. And then, as I built those relationships, then they'd let me put newsletters inside their businesses, the extra ones, so that, we'd start co-oping with the community. And then, several years ago, we started shooting business videos where we would go in, just shoot a video, introduce them to the community, let them tell us about their business, and then be able to post it, on Facebook and our community website and things like that. So very my farming model is very interactive with the community. Some people just like to send the postcards and then prospect around it. We've never door knocked. We've never prospected. Up until 3 weeks ago, we just started prospecting through the neighborhood, which I highly recommend. We're having great success, even in our new farms, of just, hey, did you want to make sure you got our newsletter? Are you curious about the value of your home? We're sending out a lot of CMAs, things like that. So.
Okay. So sounds like you've done a lot of stuff and tried a lot of things. Obviously some worked and some haven't. What was something you tried that you thought was going to be amazing and just kind of fell flat?
We did. I'll tell you, when I actually share it in our class, because we talk about kind of the do's and don'ts. So I've got several don'ts in there. One is I don't recommend joining the HOAs. If you have homeowners associations, main reason is, half the people hate them, and then the other half eventually will. And so if you're associated, that's not good. We did a Christmas contest one year where we thought it'd be cool. I had these signs made. I had medals made up and built this website they could go on and vote on. And we picked these 12 homes in the community that, we felt were decorated the best, and which not only meant that if you weren't in the 12, you felt like you were a loser. And then really what ended up happening, instead of picking a winner, we actually, ended up with 11 losers, if you will.
Right.
So, it just, now we do, kind of the lighting showcase where we just, everybody can nominate, everybody can send us their address and we'll post all the homes. But this way everybody makes the list.
Yep.
And there's no voting.
That's good. That's good. So that first year when you were getting started and you were doing it, was it just you? Did you have a team? Did you have other people in place? Because that can be nerve-wracking for some people to just take a farm on by themselves.
Yeah, and I did all that wrong in the beginning. You hire out of need, but you don't really have a plan, especially as a salesperson. But I had a gentleman. He kind of came in and started doing some of the newsletter design and kind of helping with it, and that lasted a little while. And then we had to part ways. And then I hired my first assistant, who's actually still with me today. And then about a year after that, about 2003, my brother actually moved back here from New York, and he's kind of as our runner, helping me with all the little miscellaneous stuff. And now he's our listing manager and has been for about 11 years now, so almost 12 years. So.
Okay. So what would you say is the size of your team in total?
We have 18 on our team right now.
Okay.
And it's the biggest we've actually been. So.
Okay. And when you're doing, so I want to go back to that again, those first couple of years, because that's where most people are. If they're thinking about getting started, that's kind of where they're at. Because some people are going to get discouraged, they're going to get disappointed. What did you do to keep yourself motivated and keep going? Because you're spending money, you're not getting the results that you may expect. What were you doing to keep yourself pumped up?
I just believed in what I was doing, and I believe that it any business, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success type thing, and so it just took time to, build. And fortunately, for the first 4 years, I had I had my FedEx income part time, paid off all my debt. My goal was to have $10,000 in savings, and when I got to about $30,000, I was still working both because I was just scared, that what if. Mm-hmm. But I just believed in what I was doing, and you were just genuine, and then kept growing. I went and got designations. I took classes. I knew as a real estate, I didn't know the real estate business. I didn't have a history of it in my family. I had to get educated and be more well-rounded to help consult people, consult with people and add value. And I'm a high I in my DISC profile, so I enjoy people and making sure I'm taking care of them and doing a really good job. So a lot of education in the beginning, and a lot of just believing that we were doing the right thing.
Okay. So what happened then for you to take over the next farm and expand it? Like, what point did you hit, and when did you decide, okay, I've got enough business from here that I want to expand?
Well, we started to get up to that, 12, 13 listings in one neighborhood, and then we started getting calls from the two adjoining neighborhoods from people who lived in our other one, friends, family over there, people who heard about us, people who saw our marketing. And so we started getting listings over there, and I went, holy cow, maybe we should start sending the newsletter over there. There's another, we're going to triple the size of our farm, but it's going to come at a cost. And so again, living within our means. Like I said, we're still in our same house today. We weren't buying vehicles and buying stuff. It was an investment so that, like Dave Ramsey says, live like no one else so that you can live like no one else. And that was really, fortunately, my wife and me's philosophy was, just be humble, be budgeted, and lead with revenue. Don't just keep reinvesting into the business. I mean, in 2004, I bought a moving truck. In 2005, I bought a commercial building in our farm. We now have 3 wrapped vehicles. It was a matter of, having that visual presence, just like a FedEx truck in our neighborhood, so people were seeing us. They were like, gosh, you get sick of seeing us. We're everywhere. But then when they're ready to sell, it's like, well, that's the guys we want. We want people who are marketing, who are investing in their business. And then I will tell you, the other piece was, being charitable. We donate bottles of water to the high school and the elementary school, supporting the little league teams. And that's the key to this is, a lot of what we're doing is not stuff that isn't what other people are doing. We're just laser focused in an area and doing it in that area versus, shotgun approach. We're more of a, a sniper approach, more hyper local.
Yeah, because I'm a productivity coach in the office, and I was coaching one of my clients this morning, and we were talking about that exactly. I said you can do the exact same things, and if you're not doing it in a targeted area, those things go unnoticed. But as soon as you do those in a targeted area and do the same things, you could be volunteering, getting involved, getting listings, door knocking. When you do that and combine it, it just compounds. So it becomes huge for the business if you do it right.
And it leaves residual. I mean, it leaves residual stuff, whereas, you do a listing in one part of town, and by the time you do just listed, just sold, 3 months later, all that stuff's blown in the wind. Mm-hmm. But when you're doing it in the same area, and they keep seeing your open house and your little ad things at the grocery store, and then your moving truck, and I understand again, I wasn't there either, and it's once you build a big business, it's tough. You got to keep focused every day and doing it, but you just start small. That whole you don't have to be you don't have to be great to start. You just have to start to be great. Yep. And it's just baby steps. And Gary Keller in the One Thing, he talks about the one thing, and it just hit me, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know what I was doing back then. But we really were doing our one thing. I was just geographically focusing on an area, and you got now we get referrals all over the valley, but we still have our hub, we still have our center, and the rest are just spokes coming off of it. So it's been pretty cool to see what's happened.
So for you, when you're in that farm, what's kind of a success ratio for you? Like, is there a certain percentage that you want for market share?
Last year we ran about just over 17% market share. We have some new areas that have grown in our farm, so we're working on gaining more market share in those areas. So what happened is, we went from 12,000 homes to 17 to 21 relatively quick, like in 3 years. And so you take on all these new addresses, and of course it takes time for the brand to even now to build into those new neighborhoods, because some of them were 2012. And of course here in Arizona we got just decimated from '07 to really until 2011, when things all of a sudden, all the investors went, okay, they're at the bottom, and then brought us back up a little bit.
Yep.
It was an interesting market. The cool thing about farming is, what I found out is, during the short sale market, they needed a trusted advisor more than they do in a regular market.
Yep.
And what we did is we had built a trusted audience. They knew our brand, so I started teaching avoid foreclosure, know your options, and we started doing short sale workshops with an attorney and a CPA, and people would just show up because they trusted us, and they'd come to get the information, whether they listed or not. We felt like it was a great resource, and now to our community we teach a program I started called Road Back Home, and roadbackhome.com. We just teach them now how to get on the road back home, so they come out, whether they're ready in 3 months or 2 years. You're building that relationship. Yep. And taking them out of circulation.
Wow, that's awesome. So I've had Jenny Wiemert on. I don't know if you know Jenny. She's from Orlando, and she does farming as well. And she mentioned that a lot of her business most of her business is focused on just the listings itself. She said she doesn't even really do much buyer lead stuff, because she doesn't prospect for buyers, because she just happens to get them because they're getting the listings. Do you focus mostly on listings, or are you doing stuff to generate buyer leads within that farm?
No, we had a huge shift in that over the last probably 2 years with our buyer team. Specifically the last year, I think we closed 136 buyer sides last year, and we're going to break. We've already broken that this year, or we're real close to break. Written contracts we've broken. I think our closed we're almost there, and we've still got a couple months. We're running probably close to 60-40 right now. 60% of our business listing, 40 buy side, so very balanced. But I've got 5 full-time agents working the buy side, 2 part-time, and then an ISA now. And our ISA is really working hard to create appointments versus the agents dealing with all these Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse buyers that aren't ready, that they'll never follow up with unless they're ready to go buy. And so that's been a big addition in the last 6 months or so to our team. Maybe a little longer than that now, actually, but having that role. And so the agents love it.
Are they prospecting within the farm, or are they just following up with the leads that you're getting?
Well, so we just started prospecting. Literally, we're in our 4th week.
Okay.
Because I've been missing that, and I just didn't have time to do it personally. So I hired, my replacement in June to kind of run my farm, and now we've got 4 people or 3 people dialing every morning, and we're literally just calling through the farms. And now we're starting to call your circle prospecting. You're just listed, just sold. Hey,
right.
Just wanted to let you know, and we have our scripts. We've just started doing that. My goal is to hire an ISA just on the listing prospecting side as well as on the buyer side, because they really kind of become 2 different things for us, because we're just seeing the results already of prospecting, and just blown away we didn't start it sooner. So.
It's one of those things that people either jump in on, or, like you said, you wait to it and then realize it and then start doing it. So what's been the most effective strategy that you've found over the years?
The best strategy, honestly, is just being consistent, sending the newsletter out the first of every month with hyper-local stuff, stuff that they're not going to find in the local newspaper, stuff that's happening in our communities, and then just getting out in what I call running my realtor route. although I guess I'm not allowed to say that anymore, realtor route, because we can't use NAR purposes. But I just call it, our farm route or whatever. What happens is, when the newsletter comes out, we have to go to all these businesses that have our newsletters in the business.
Right.
So it creates us on purpose every month to go visit 20, 25 businesses, restaurants, dentist office, the dry cleaner, all these different businesses, and go stock the newsletter, which then creates that relationship every month. So it's been really cool because, it just creates activities. And you walk in, hey, can we shoot a quick business video for you? And, let's schedule that tomorrow. And you come back and, it takes no time. And, they love you and they'll refer you out too. So
that's great. So if an agent was brand new, just wanting to start a farm, what would be the best advice you could give for them?
I would just geographically look at an area as close to where you live as you can, and then go on, the USPS website and go to the EDDM and look at the routes and see how the routes fit your farm that you want to do, because that's how it's going to end up. That's what's going to form your farm. And then see how many homes are in that. Is it, 400? Is it 600? Is it, can you get a route that's 800 or 1,000? And then figure out, okay, what's that going to cost? Go to a local printer, talk to them about it, see what they would charge you to, do a little newsletter, whether it's just a one piece of paper with houses, whether we use an 8.5 by 11. Well, it's a little bigger than that with EDDM, but it's basically a sheet of paper, a little bit bigger, but folded in half, which creates 4 pages. So 2 of our farms have a 4-page. My main farm is an 8-page, so it's 2 sheets of paper folded in half, and that's how we do it. It's a little booklet. And just find out what that would cost, and then say, okay, it's going to be $1,200. And then you go to your title company or your mortgage buddy and go, hey, I got a business plan. Most realtors aren't going to come to them and say, I got a plan.
Yeah.
They're going to say, what can you do for me? Versus you go to them and say, hey, I got a plan. They're going to go, wait a minute, what's wrong with you? Who are you?
Yeah.
But hey, I got a plan. I got 12 months. I want to go hammer this area. Let's put a little ad in there about you, and let's take that $1,200, divide it up, and everybody puts in, and all of a sudden now we got $400 a piece. Can we go commit to that for 12 months? And all of a sudden, if you're a good person and you're authentic and you care about what you're doing, you're a good realtor, you're going to get appointments. Whether you screw those up or not, that's up to you. But I believe that if you did it for 12 months, you'll get appointments. Yeah.
It's amazing how effective it works. It's amazing to see people who've moved away from farming because they've gone to the online stuff. But I'm seeing a few agents who really understand how important farming is and getting back to it. And it works. It's worked for years. It doesn't matter the technology. It's going to work if you do it and you do it right.
Well, Gary Keller, and obviously I'm a KW guy, but he spoke at Family Reunion in February, and he said, and it wasn't like it was the most magical thing, but it was pretty profound to me. He said, he who controls the lead source controls the leads. And he was really talking about your Zillows and Trulias and Craigslist and all the, algorithms that change and all the things they do, and all these companies keep doing is sucking more out of us as realtors, promising us something, and then selling it 20 times over and keep raising the price, Realtor.com, Zillow, all those. And at the end of the day, you're just another number. Whereas when you control the lead source, so I control the quantity I farm to, the quality I farm to, the quality of the product, the belly to belly, the face to face. To me, it was like I have a business now. It just can't be taken from me. It's now, and it's predictable. That's the one have is predictable business. Like I know I'm going to take 15 listings every month regardless, because it's predictable. Now the question is, can we take that number and crank it up to 22, 25? We're at 18 for the month so far, so we got a few days left. And we got 2 or 3 in the pipeline, so we should be able to hit 20, 22 this month. Now, but again, if I know that, you can hire to that, you can invest in that, and to be honest with you, you can walk away from that someday, and if you hire the right replacement, and still take a percentage of it.
Yeah, that's great advice. So and like you said, just get started with it too. You got to get started.
Well, if you're going to be doing this, why not just start even with its 500 homes? Start with a condo complex and dominate that, and then just keep leading with it over time. It will, in my opinion, it will grow.
Okay, great. So, I mean, you've taken all this information, you've boiled it down, and you've got a program that you have and you put together. Do you want to take a minute and talk about that and what you can offer to our listeners?
One of the things with and I hate to keep saying Keller Williams, but it's a big training and education company, and so a lot of what they do is they take their top people and send them throughout the country and have them train other agents. And so I've been blessed to be able to travel, and it's the good and bad. You leave your business, you go train, and then you have all these things that happen afterwards: questions, Facebook, emails, and you want to be able to share with everyone. And I teach a lot of classes, and the problem is you teach to a lot of people and they go do nothing with it, and that gets real frustrating because you want people to be successful. Yep. So about a year ago, I looked out there, and I have a lot of different designations, and I thought, there's really nothing for farming, and if I could create a hub of farming, like-minded people where we could share marketing ideas, share strategies, share what's working, what isn't, we could do something fun. And so we decided to make a designation out of it. So it's not an official like NAR, but it's we called it CLME, which is Certified Local Market Expert. So CLME.com. And so we have 8 core classes. We do a monthly marketing idea. We do interviews periodically. We did a mastermind call earlier this week on the business-to-business relationships. And we just try to help each other grow and share. And it's not all about, me telling everyone what to do or having ideas. It's about me sharing ideas that, we come up with, but also that other farming agents come up with, and create a collaborative group. And I know statistically that NAR says when a person is hiring their realtor, 94% of them say they want the local market expert, 77% say they want local area knowledge, and yet 37% say they care about tech skills. And yet we spend so much time on the best iPad presentation and website and how many Facebook posts and all of that, which is all valuable. But at the end of the day, how they're choosing their realtor is by if they have, if they're the local market expert, and if they're the local area expert, meaning they're knowledgeable about the area. So I thought, well, what better way than if I can sit down and say, oh yeah, we have some continuing education. I'm a certified local market expert. I'm saying subliminally what they want to hear. Yep. And they kind of know it because typically they've called me. But it's been a great tool. It's been a chance to meet a lot of people, and so it's been fun because when people ask me questions, and yeah, we charge for it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's created a lot to put it together and maintain it, but all the information is there. I have my business in a box with all my forms, our listing intake sheets, everything that we do in our business. We keep updating that. We have some calculation formulas in there, so how to calculate your farm. And like I said, just the marketing ideas that we try to do every month, or as often as we come up with them or get them from other agents. And so, like I said, it's been a lot of fun because I'm meeting people all over the world now, and connecting them and helping them build farms. I was just in Austin last week and had a guy that's in our program said, he started with 1,200 homes. Actually, he heard me speak in 2010. And he's now up to like 8,000. He's now teaching another guy in another city next to him and sharing his success. And he's like, man, I owe it to you because you made me turn up the heat. And I just started following things you were saying, and now I've got this big business. And he was just smiling ear to ear. He's just like, man, it's so cool to have this now where I'm not stressing every month, how am I going to pay my bills, or I hope the phone rings, because I'm on purpose. I have activities to do. So that was the idea, and I appreciate you letting me share it. I do have, if you use KK150, that takes $150 off the program for your group, and we'd love to get people involved. Of course, they can cancel, if they don't like it. It's not going to hurt my feelings. We're just trying to share and add value, and continue to share and add value, so we can help each other become, better professionals and make a bunch of money along the way and develop relationships.
Absolutely. And that's who our listeners are. It's agents who understand the value of niche marketing, finding that niche or market they can go after. So they would definitely appreciate that. So we'll put that in the show notes so they can check that out. We'll put the code in there for them to check it out. So if they want to check out what you're up to, what's the best way for our listeners to find out?
They can, anytime you're welcome to email me. My email is just Kenny, Kenny, and then Klaus Team, KLAUSTEAM.com. Obviously, video on there just talks a little bit about what we do. You can go to 85209.com. Again, that's 85209.com. That's one of our community websites. And it kind of gives you an idea, our online presence, as well as, of course, Facebook, same thing, 85209. And we kind of link the two together because we know Facebook, why not use that? You don't have to have a community website if you build a good Facebook page, but the community website allows us to connect a little bit. We have more control of that one. So.
That's great.
So those are a couple places to check out some of the stuff we're doing. We've got samples of our newsletter in the resource center there, so it lays out. We actually have a whole webinar on the calls to action, where we do them. Literally broken down each page of years. I mean, this is 12 years of doing this newsletter, and you learn a lot along the way. So it helps us. We've learned how to refine it and make it better. So.
That's awesome. Okay, well, we appreciate you being on the show, and thank you for sharing your insights. So we look forward to seeing what you're up to, and if our listeners want to check you out, we can click on the links below and check that out.
Definitely, man. It's an honor. I truly appreciate being able to share, and hopefully I've listened to a couple of years and picking up some ideas, so good stuff, and proud of what you're doing out there.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for bringing on.
All right, man.
Bye.